You see the headlines everywhere, right? Layoffs are happening left and right, and it seems like the prime suspect is always the same: artificial intelligence. But here's the question: is AI the real job killer, or is it just a really convenient excuse? We're about to dig into the data and see what's really going on.
Okay, let's just start with this number because it's pretty staggering. 1.17 million. That is how many jobs U.S. employers cut last year alone. That's the highest we've seen since the absolute peak of the pandemic, and yeah, it's fueling a lot of anxiety.
And if you're just following the news, the reason seems obvious. CEOs and companies are all talking about pivoting to an AI-first future. But is that the whole story? Or is AI becoming the perfect scapegoat for some good old-fashioned bottom-line business decisions? To really get what's happening now, we've actually got to rewind a little bit. The economic chaos that kicked off back in 2020 really set the stage for the layoffs we're seeing today. It was a seriously wild ride of massive highs and lows. And man, what a ride it was. I mean, just look at this timeline. We went from a truly terrifying unemployment peak of almost 15% during the lockdowns, all the way down to a 50-year low of just 3.4%. That incredible recovery, it fueled a massive, massive hiring boom, especially in tech. But then, the party ended. To fight off inflation, the Federal Reserve basically slammed on the brakes, raising interest rates 11 separate times. And suddenly, money wasn't cheap anymore. The whole focus for companies shifted overnight from growth to a much less exciting word: profitability. And all that hiring they did during the boom years, well, that started to look a lot like corporate bloat. And all this pressure to get lean, to cut costs, it created the perfect opening for a brand new kind of excuse. One that sounded really innovative and futuristic, instead of just having to admit, yeah, we hired way too many people. Experts actually have a name for this. They call it AI washing. It's when a company announces layoffs and they blame it all on a big strategic pivot to AI. And why do they do it? Well, because it makes them sound like they're on the cutting edge, and Wall Street absolutely loves that. It's just a much better look than saying, oops, we hired too many people and now we have to cut back. A perfect example of this? Let's take Klarna. The company basically became the poster child for AI replacing jobs. The headlines were everywhere. But then, after all that media attention died down, the CEO had to come out and clarify that, get this, 0 layoffs were directly caused by AI. The cuts were actually because of a hiring freeze that started a whole year earlier. And we see a really similar story over at Salesforce. The CEO makes this bold claim that AI can do half the work, and that's the justification for thousands of job cuts. But then, the company later clarifies that many of the people affected weren't even fired. They were just moved into different roles inside the company. So the narrative didn't exactly match the reality. So what is the real story? Well, take a look at this breakdown. Direct replacement by AI, it accounts for that tiny little 5% slice right there. The vast majority, that's just classic business pressures. Good old cost-cutting, correcting for hiring too many people, and just general uncertainty about the economy. Okay. So if AI isn't really replacing all these workers, why is it such a popular scapegoat? Well, it might be because for a lot of companies, the big AI revolution they promised everyone isn't actually happening. Just consider this finding from MIT for a second. A staggering 95% of companies that have invested in AI initiatives are seeing 0 measurable return. Billions and billions of dollars are being spent, with almost nothing to show for it on the bottom line. And the technology itself is, well, it's often pretty flawed. Far from being some perfect coding machine, research shows that up to 45% of AI-generated code has critical security vulnerabilities. I mean, that creates a whole lot more problems than it solves. So much for a productivity boost, right? Instead of speeding things up, one study found that giving AI tools to experienced senior developers actually made them 19% slower. They were spending so much time just correcting the AI's mistakes that it would have been faster to just do the work themselves from the start. And then you have the most extreme cases, where the whole promise of AI was a complete illusion from the very beginning. Builder AI was valued at over $1 billion based on its world-changing automation, right up until it was revealed that hundreds of human engineers were actually doing the work behind the curtain the whole time. But listen, this doesn't mean AI is having no impact at all. Of course not. Its real effect is just a lot more subtle than giant mass layoffs. It's not so much about replacement, it's more about reshaping the entire job market. And the data shows us exactly who's feeling this the most.
Young workers, people just starting their careers. You see, AI is getting pretty good at automating the simple, repetitive tasks that make up a lot of entry-level jobs. And as those tasks start to disappear, so does that first rung on the career ladder for a lot of people. And this is absolutely crucial to understand. Many of these layoffs aren't about what AI can do right now. They're a gamble, a bet on what executives hope it's going to be able to do in the future. Companies are cutting staff preemptively, betting on a technology that, in many cases, doesn't even fully exist yet.
I think in general, they just don't seem to worry about the consequences of overcutting, nor do they worry about the consequences of what happens if they're guessing wrong about recession. So there's been some interesting research over the last couple of years showing the costs of doing that. And basically, the short conclusion is the longer you can resist a layoff, the better your financial performance is likely to be. And part of that is because you don't save as much money by cutting as you think, but also on the rebound, it takes you a while to bring new people in, get them settled, not disrupt the place, and then turn things around.